Hollywood just lost a legend in the most shocking way possible. Rob Reiner, the mind behind The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Stand By Me, and A Few Good Men, has been found dead at 78, along with his wife Michele, in what LAPD is calling an apparent homicide at their Brentwood home. Tonight, here's exactly what we know so far about the investigation. Why their own son is reportedly a person of interest, and how the film world is reacting to the brutal end of one of American cinema's great storytellers. The tragic discovery was made on the afternoon of December 14th. First responders were called to the Reiners' home in the upscale Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles around 3:30 p.m. local time. The initial call was for a medical emergency. But what they found inside was far more grim. A 78-year-old man and a 68-year-old woman, both with what officials described as obvious signs of trauma, including stab wounds. It didn't take long for authorities to confirm the home belonged to Rob Reiner, and soon after, family members confirmed the victims were indeed Rob and his wife of over 30 years. The accomplished documentary producer and civil rights advocate Michele Singer Reiner. The case was immediately handed over to the LAPD's Elite Robbery Homicide Division, a sign of its seriousness. The department publicly labeled the deaths an apparent double homicide, ruling out natural or accidental causes. Early reports indicate a relative found the bodies and called 911, though that person's identity hasn't been released. What sources are emphasizing is that there were no immediate signs of a random home invasion. From the very beginning, it seems detectives have been focusing on what might have happened within the family, rather than a stranger-on-the-street crime. This leads to the most sensitive part of this story. Several major news outlets are quoting law enforcement sources who say the couple's son, Nick Reiner, is being looked at as a person of interest. Reports describe him as having struggled in recent years, and some stories hint at a history of family tension. However, it's crucial to be clear here. As of this recording, the LAPD has not held a press conference or officially named any suspect. Several outlets report police are focusing on a family member, their son Mick, as a person of interest, but as of now, there are no public charges and no official motive. Everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This is a developing story and we'll stick to the confirmed facts. To understand the weight of this loss, you have to understand who Rob Reiner was. Long before he was a legendary director, he was a TV icon. In the 1970s, he became a household name as Michael "Meathead" Stivic on Norman Lear's groundbreaking sitcom All in the Family. Playing the liberal son-in-law, who was constantly sparring with the cantankerous Archie Bunker, Reiner perfectly captured the cultural clashes of the era. The role won him 2 Emmy Awards and cemented his place in television history. Then, he made one of the most successful transitions in Hollywood history, moving from in front of the camera to behind it. The string of films he directed in the 80s and early 90s is almost unparalleled. He started with This Is Spinal Tap in 1984. A mockumentary so brilliant it essentially invented its own genre. He followed that with Stand By Me in 1986, a timeless coming-of-age story about friendship and loss based on a Stephen King novella. A year later, he gave us The Princess Bride, a fairy tale that was both a spoof and a sincere romance, quoted by families for generations. In 1989, Reiner directed When Harry Met Sally, the film that wrote the blueprint for the modern romantic comedy, and he never stopped evolving. In 1990, he adapted another Stephen King story, Misery, into a terrifying thriller that won Kathy Bates an Oscar. Then in 1992, he directed A Few Good Men, giving us the iconic line, "You can't handle the truth," and proving his mastery of courtroom drama. As a co-founder of Castle Rock Entertainment, he also helped bring us classics like Seinfeld and The Shawshank Redemption. But Rob Reiner didn't just tell stories in theaters, he spent decades in the real world fighting for what he believed in. He was a prominent political activist, championing progressive causes in California, from early childhood education funding to anti-smoking initiatives. He was an outspoken advocate for marriage equality and a fierce defender of democratic principles, using his platform to stand up against authoritarianism. This activism made him a controversial figure for some, but for many others, it earned him deep respect. His colleagues remember him as someone who saw all his work, both on screen and off, as part of a larger mission to foster empathy and protect human rights. The deaths of Rob and Michele Reiner are a profound tragedy, but this tragedy isn't just about one famous director. It's about 2 lives lost, a partnership cut short. Rob's wife, Michele Singer Reiner, was so much more than just the director's spouse. She was a powerhouse in her own right, a producer and a dedicated activist. While Rob was making movies, Michele was working on social justice projects, partnering with him on political campaigns, and becoming a well-known figure in California's philanthropy circles. Friends described their marriage as a true partnership, both creative and political. They raised 3 children together while working side by side behind the scenes to make a difference. Her death alongside Rob makes this all the more devastating. It wasn't just 2 people. It was 2 careers, 2 missions, and 1 shared life, all ended in the same horrific moment. In the hours after the news broke, Hollywood and the public went into shock. Tributes poured in from actors, directors, and even politicians who had worked with him. A common theme emerged. Many called him the rare director whose movies you rewatch for comfort. Think about it, The Princess Bride, Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally. These are the films people turn to during breakups, on holidays, or just when they're having a tough time. They're like a warm blanket for the soul. Some tributes focused on his comedy roots, remembering his perfect timing as Meathead on All in the Family and how that comedic rhythm shaped his later films. Others highlighted his tireless activism, calling his death a devastating loss for our city and our country. He was one of the few who managed to combine massive artistic success with being a loud, consistent voice for democracy. Let me know in the comments which Rob Reiner film meant the most to you. Was it the fairy tale comfort of The Princess Bride, the coming-of-age heartbreak of Stand By Me, or the rom-com perfection of When Harry Met Sally? So what is Rob Reiner's legacy? It's unusually broad. He was a TV comedy icon, a director who created multiple stone-cold classics, the co-founder of a major production company, and a relentless political voice. Film historians already rank his run from 1984 to 1992 as one of the greatest decade-long streaks any director has ever had. In the short term, the LAPD investigation will continue. There will be autopsies, forensic work at the house, and interviews with family and potential witnesses. We're all waiting for announcements about arrests or charges. And as more details come out about how this happened, why it happened, and who will be held responsible, we'll learn more. But the part that won't change is the impact of the work he left behind. He leaves behind 3 children, countless collaborators, and a body of films that are still being discovered by new audiences on streaming every week. Whether you grew up with Meathead, with The Princess Bride on VHS, or with When Harry Met Sally on cable, chances are Rob Reiner has already been part of your life. You don't get many careers like Rob Reiner's sitcom legend, genre-defining director, political activist, and you definitely don't expect a life like that to end at a police crime scene. Right now, we're watching 2 stories at once, the unfolding investigation into a brutal double homicide, and the much bigger story of a guy who helped shape modern Hollywood. If you're going to honor Rob Reiner, the best way might be simple. Pick one of his films tonight, press play, and remember that behind all the headlines, he was first and foremost a storyteller. Rest in peace, Rob and Michele. Drop your favorite Reiner movie down below, hit like to boost the video, and subscribe if you want updates as this case and his legacy continue to unfold.